for this session. Is it this afternoon, or is it this morning, or is it this evening? For me, it's in the morning, and I hope it's a lovely afternoon for you in India. So, Paul Ebbutt, thank you for saying I'm the sort of the lead. There's a number of us involved in the professional development sector at the PWI, and I'm one of the development officers for the PWI. But I have been a professional engineer for nearly 40 years. And I started with the Institution of Civil Engineers, and we'll have a little history about how we're now on scene with the PWI. So just for background, I say I'm a railway engineer, infrastructure railway engineer since the 1970s, and very, very proud of it, and a member of the PWI since 1978, shortly after I started in the mid-70s. And I've been involved with construction of railways in London, particularly associated with what we used to call London Transport. So that's the tube lines, but also surface lines. So I've been involved in not just extensions to existing tube network, but construction of the Docklands Light Railway, which is a sort of light railway in East London, as well as being sort of asset management for the assets on the Underground and London Railway network. I was involved in planning of this brand new line we have in London called the Elizabeth line, and I was lucky to finish my career with construction of yet another tube line to a development in Battersea, which is in South London. So I've had a fantastic career with the rail industry, and I've been supporting youngsters and not so youngsters throughout my career as being railway engineers. And really that's what we're about today. And I want to, I've been passionate about supporting the PWI, and I've had some great friends, and I've had great experience of attending meetings for the PWI. And so this is about the PWI. So founded in the 1880s as a learned track society for track engineers and staff, and that was managers right through to track operatives. And it was like that when I joined in the 1970s, and you could go to meetings and talk with the boss, who employed me, of London Transport's engineers, and I could talk with the senior gangers and supervisors and chain men who actually did the surveying on the tracks, and you could actually have these meetings together. So the objectives when it was formed was promoting the advancement of technical training, and that's on the permanent way, as it was called, so fence line to fence line. And we'll come back to that shortly. As it was promoted, it was to acquire and share scientific knowledge, to adopt standard competency. So these are all in the 1880s, when there was a multitude of railway companies in the UK. Provide certification, diplomas of competence to people who met the requirements, and encourage acquisition of further technical knowledge. And the interesting thing is that although we've widened now, we haven't particularly widened beyond the fence lines, but within the fence lines, we look very much, we have in our team, and we include in the UK, electrification and other assets that run in that corridor of railway, which we call railway infrastructure, and we'll come back to that shortly. But the interesting thing is that the objectives in the 1880s are still very much the objectives today. So the key thing that we've added to our portfolio recently, and as I say, I've been a chartered engineer since the 1980s, is that we are now registered with the UK Engineering Council as a professional engineering institution. And so effectively, that gives the PWI the same status as the Institution of Civil Engineers, Institution of Mechanical Engineers, and other worldwide recognised professional bodies. So the PWI wasn't just based in the UK, it had strong UK in areas strongly influenced by the UK overseas. Membership grew as well. It's interesting to note in my research that there was a branch formed in India in 1906, so that's quite interesting. And at its height, members were in 45 countries around the world, with over 7,000 members, around about when I started, as its peak there, look, 1980, 7,000 members worldwide. So what are we today in terms of membership? So current we're sort of general membership, currently now about 4,000. So down from that peak, but it's sort of, it was lower than that. It's peaked, coming up. And one of the reasons is because we can now encourage students and apprentices to join at an early stage. And I would welcome that you encourage that in India. So we've now got this professional registration stream. Again, look, that's a very small number, percentage, but 300 plus of professional registrants, 186 of Eng Tech, up to 89 CNs. And we look to sort of have a pyramid of membership. We look to have a solid base of Eng Techs, and we would look to see that track operatives, supervisors should be achieving Eng Tech. So we'll talk about why shortly, but you'll see it's good to have that base. And then engineers can progress through iEng to CEng. And we'll talk about the differences of what we mean between those shortly. And then if you wish to achieve the sort of highest badge of honour, really, with any professional body, you can ask to be a fellow, which demonstrates to people in the industry and outside the industry that you are working at the top of your industry achievements. So you don't necessarily have to be professionally registered to be a fellow as a matter of interest. So what does the PWI do now? So we very much work with the rail industry, and we like to sort of be involved in consultation and lobbying for government initiatives and industry-wide initiatives. That's very important, more so nowadays. But very much following that initial objective, we want to enhance the knowledge and skills of our members and the whole infrastructure rail sector, not just the rails and sleepers, the whole infrastructure rail sector. Well, how do we do that? We have section meetings face-to-face or virtual. And the sort of COVID world that all of us have been through has encouraged us to have hybrid meetings and a mixture of media, which I think the PWI has been very successful at. And I'm sure some of you have been able to log into some of our virtual meetings. We have technical seminars. I'm pleased that there's another one next week. I'm very much looking forward to over a range of subjects in the rail infrastructure sector. We have a very industry recognised journal, which is available online, or you can still have a paper copy should you choose. We produce valued textbooks for the industry. We have a website now with its knowledge hub, online forums, and including sort of Tech Talk, Young Engineers Group, which are subsections within the website. I'm not going to go through that with you. It's a skill set that I'm still working on, but we have practical challenges that we develop now. So we have practical training exercises that we can develop for people with the challenges of getting trackside with the health and the challenges of health and safety. We have been able to deliver some practical experience for people over the last few years, and we've now developed further formal training courses which give you recognised qualifications and routes and support routes to professional registration. And of course, being part of the rail infrastructure family, you will have connections to people with knowledge, experience, and maybe opportunities for career. And the final plank that we've added over the last 5 years or so is professional registration. And the key thing here, and I'll come back to it later, is that it's professional registration where you're mentored, coached and assessed by people in your industry who know your industry, the rail infrastructure industry. So everything is accessible on the website. You can access it by your mobile phone, and all the other media streams that we've got as well. And I would encourage you to do that. You can download forms and everything from our website. You can participate in meetings. Fantastic advancement. Real eye-opener for me when I started from the 1970s. So what are we talking about in terms of the railway infrastructure for the PWI? So just to remind ourselves, it's really fence line to fence line and beyond. So all the assets in here are what we would call the PWI's domain, and we embrace, and the interfaces. So who is the PWI community today? Say directly, of course, the track, which is the sort of base of it, civil engineers in terms of interfacing structures, under bridges, tunnels, viaducts, structural engineers as well. That's where I started, as a structural engineer on the underground, buildings around stations and other supporting buildings for infrastructure. Geotechnics, very much associated with supporting ground, the slopes of the cuttings, the rock faces, very much involved, and as an opportunity, and they are leaders in our sector with us on track. Drainage, of course, whole track system, track bed, drainage, very, very important. Electrification engineers are now, and whether that's overhead line equipment or whether it's direct contact conductor rails, as in the picture here, all a part of our team, and plant engineers, where is the on-track plant and other rail plant. And of course, there may be specialist activities in there too, metallurgists very much so in terms of condition and performance of rails, and often concrete performance as well in terms of sleepers, and in fact, even now, interesting extra other material scientists coming in associated with composites as we start to stray into modern materials for use on the railway. So as interfaces, significant number of interfaces, all who we would welcome as members of the PWI, rolling stock, of course, signalling, communications, and just turn my phone off. Sorry, communications, operations, the IT people, very, very important, planners, and very much environmentalists and looking after the planet, as we would say here. And something that was always there in our planning of works anyway, but very much so that we need to demonstrate and make sure that we are competent at. So all those are interfaces, but we welcome people to be members of the PWI to benefit from what we can provide. And of course, we now have significant number of corporate members, particularly in the UK. I see no reason why you can't, if you've got an employer and you think there's benefits to work with the PWI and other stakeholders, why you should not encourage them to sign up. So some of the benefits are attendance you can get at our courses and at seminars. We have a technical board that can contribute to or learn from, and I think that was a wider catchment beyond the UK, that would be fantastic. So technical seminars, there's ones we've delivered within the last year or so. Electrification, there's been a couple there to embrace our electrification colleagues. And it's not just electrification, it's the interfaces with the infrastructure rail system. Very much looking at trying to expand our knowledge and experience with sustainable development. So there, and not forgetting the nuts and bolts of the PWI. So there's a session there on S&C coming up very soon. Next week, I think, is Earthworks and Drainage course in York. Sorry, a seminar in York. There's a course to come later on in the year as well. In Manchester, resilience in rail infrastructure. So talking about performance around climate change. And so the weather effects. It's been pretty challenging in Scotland here in the UK over the last month or so. And we're spreading out, opening our arms around our colleagues in Ireland, and really looking forward personally to a session about the railways in Ireland, having engaged with our colleagues in Ireland personally recently. And I find it very exciting to engage with colleagues outside the core UK. So the training courses that we offer, and these all give opportunities and routes with other qualifications and experience to take a professional journey with us. And we can talk about that in more detail, depending on the time. First one is our core subject about permanent way, track engineering. 3 modules there. Each one's a week, either face-to-face, and you can do this one virtually as well, although I think I would promote the benefits of face-to-face because of the interaction with the lecturers, so better interaction. So track maintenance and introduction really on module 1, a whole week there, track design and module 2, and then advanced track asset engineering and renewals in module 3. Each phase is an assessment, and you end up with a track engineering diploma at the end of passing all 3 phases. We've now produced electrification engineering diploma. Sorry, I haven't got any detail about that one, but again, it's gone to 3 modules. We'll give electrification engineers a diploma, which will give you a route to professional registration. And then we've got more detailed courses. So there's S&C refurbishment course, popular with rail infrastructure managers now in the UK. Permanent way advanced track technician course. That's quite a new one. It's helps the people working on the tools on the track and gives them a sort of underlying sort of qualification to enable them to move towards management and then perhaps incorporated engineer later. And finally, well, I say new, it's only this year we've launched and we've having reasonable success with, I think, about earthworks, drainage and off-track engineering. So that's about the interface in earthworks, slopes, formation, the importance of drainage, vegetation on slopes, how we manage the weather, fence lines, everything that is not the detail of the track, but everything within those fence line boundaries, as we talked about. So, and that's proving to be quite successful, and we would encourage you to consider. And then finally on to a key point about professional registration. So what does it give us? It gives you recognition, and it's an independent recognition. So that's we are registered through the UK spec here. That's the UK Engineering Council, well recognised through internationally, and our qualification follows their UK spec, the UK spec, and it gives you recognition of your competence and commitment as an engineer, but an internationally recognised recognition. So then it demonstrates that you've attained a minimum standard, as noted in the UK spec, for admission to be a registered engineer with the UK Engineering Council. And there's 3 levels that you get, and we'll come to those. So why would you do this? Well, it provides that independent evidence that you have a professional attitude and commitment to being an engineer, which includes your knowledge and experience of engineering and science, of safety, also includes sustainable development and planning, and the evidence is that this is valued by employers and clients. Okay, and some employers, particularly consultants, can take the fact that you're professionally registered and they can promote that well in their business and to their clients. The key thing is that you can promote yourself. So you benefit from this international recognition with a UK badge of competence and commitment, as we talked about. But the other thing is look, it provides evidence of your expertise and work ethic, because that gets assessed as well. Of course, you could put letters after your name, Engtech INC Eng. Some of you may have noted a great string after my name, and why would I not use those letters? I've worked for them. So it gives you the potential for higher earning. That's between you and future and present employers. It can't guarantee it. It gives you the potential. I think the key thing here is that it gives you a framework to support your career. And I've been a member of the PWI since the 70s. Colleagues I've come through industry with since then, who I've stayed with throughout my career, and we've shared experiences and shared staff. So I can't say more than that. But the real thing for me, the benefit of the PWI, is professional registration. As I said before, you're coached, mentored and reviewed by colleagues and peers in your industry. They know your industry. Before the PWI gave professional registration in the UK, I had some colleagues who were mentored. I was a chartered civil engineer as well, and I used to mentor people through the Institution of Civil Engineers in the UK. But you could not guarantee that the reviewer of their professional experience and reports was someone who understood railways. And I think I had someone who I mentored, who was a very good engineer, ticks all the boxes, but was not successful. The people that they were taking the interview didn't have a clue of the rail industry, and I was on the client side of the rail industry, as was my colleague, and they struggled with that interview. So one of the real benefits of the PWI, I say take the journey with us, is you'll get coached, mentored and reviewed by people in your industry. So looking at what you've got, then you can get EngTech. So we're talking that you need to demonstrate that you know systems, engineering, you know your stuff, and you've done some engineering application at a practical level. So this can be people working on the tools, supervisors, and you don't need to stray beyond EngTech if you don't want to. But it's good to demonstrate that you are registered at that level with the railway infrastructure professional body. Now, should you wish to progress, and we would encourage managers to progress to incorporated engineer, IEng. So this is really talking about you're managing work, you're managing people, perhaps small teams, but you're taking responsible delivery decisions. You're using current and developing technology there. It can be design, development, construction and operation, any role, but you're demonstrating that you're taking a key role, you're participating and working with others. And why shouldn't you consider doing incorporated engineer as a well-respected grade in the engineering industry? And then at the top of the tree, I would say you've got chartered engineer. Here, really, you're looking at someone a bit more leadership, leading small decisions, leading small teams, making key decisions, looking at more complex engineering projects and problems, again through design, delivery, and management and operation, maintenance and operation. And here, really demonstrate, you need to demonstrate that you're working at you're able to cope with innovation, creativity and technical, so solving problems. You are solving problems. Maybe more as IEng, you're managing them, you might find a problem, you need to work with others. But here, you're showing a bit more leadership at CEng level in terms of demonstrating leadership. So, let's then look at what you need at the EngTech level. I've got a diagram that shows this clearer if anyone's got any queries. You're working at ideally what we call level 3 in the UK, sort of A levels or below. But A level is sort of ideally, and you've got at least, if you've got the A levels, you've got at least 2 years in the industry. But at 5 years with lower qualifications, you can actually apply for EngTech with no qualifications. So you can demonstrate, provided you demonstrate in your application form. Now, IEng, typically you'd be looking at 5 years experience, and you need to demonstrate you've got equivalent of what we call a bachelor level qualification degree learning. And I can go answer questions and talk about what do we mean by that shortly. And then at the chartered engineer level, you nowadays need to work at demonstrate you've got master's level qualifications. So that's a degree plus a master's. So and that's based on the UK sort of standard degree and master's. Then when at all levels, you need to demonstrate your engineering competence and commitment. And they're basically 5 areas. The first one is, and it's more complex, of course, as you go from Eng Tech through to Eng, but you need to demonstrate under Section A that you know your stuff, I like to put it. So you have a knowledge and understanding of whatever your area is. It doesn't have to be track, don't forget. So if it's electrification, or even if it's managing a drainage, you need to demonstrate you know and understand your science and engineering. So you understand how water flows and how it performs, how it affects other assets. If you're talking about drainage, you need to demonstrate you understand the performance of track in terms of geometry, performance associated with the line speed and type of loadings that you're playing with. So B is you need to demonstrate that you've delivered, basically. You've done stuff, if I can put it like that. Design. Doesn't have to be all of these for Eng Tech. That's certainly just the one sort of demonstrate you're in the business, you are doing something and you understand what you're doing. So it could be design, development of solutions, solving problems, delivering problems on site, delivering maintenance, certainly counts in all areas. And then C, you need to provide examples of how you do work and how you take responsibility. As you go to Eng, how you manage others, how you go, as you go to Eng, how you're demonstrating leadership. So that's key subtleties there. In terms of arts Eng Tech, you demonstrate how you sign off drawings. You demonstrate how you give handback following some deliveries on work. That's taking responsibility. As a management, you demonstrate how you might hand over a multidiscipline project on site, or a multidiscipline project, multidiscipline design. In terms of leadership, you're demonstrating how you are the one person who's the final say-so on handbag or design or something. So it just shows that sort of different level. Then at Section D there, communication and interpersonal skills. So just need to demonstrate that you're able to communicate with people in the sector and outside the sector, so neighbours, third parties, and demonstrating how you've delivered works, how you've worked with people. And finally, personal and professional commitment. But it's not a simple section of one final section. It's actually as much in Section E as there is in A to D combined. You need to demonstrate you need to demonstrate this commitment. Give an example of where you've worked professionally. You've got to demonstrate commitment to safety, commitment to sustainable development, saving the planet, working efficiently, and then you've got to demonstrate that you committed to personal development. And we'll come to that very briefly. So that's about having PDP and CPD. And finally, that you work professionally in terms of ethics. Understand the ethics, understand working diversity and things like that. Understanding working with other people. So there are routes beyond the standard routes I've talked about to get the standard routes to get Eng Tech, Eng, Eng with application forms on our website, provided you've got the standard qualifications. But the first route is if you've got no qualifications whatsoever, and we, the PWI, can't work with you, and we do work with you. That's what I'm here for. And we have a few committees trying to support members, and I stress that members. That's one of the biggest services we do for members, to help you look at your options to go join us on this professional journey. So you need the technical report route. Is if we've got no underlying experiences, you need to do a technical report to demonstrate your knowledge and understanding. Not a simple process. I would say it's a bit easier to do a technical report for Eng level than Eng level. It goes without saying that you've got to demonstrate at Eng level you're working at a higher level. So you do this report, and you have to come. There are forms and application forms on our website, and there's a process you have to follow. You have to get endorsed to follow this report by the academic panel. And then once you've passed, you've done your report, that's sent to some assessors who critically analyse and review your report and interview you. Interviews nowadays are done online, so that shouldn't be difficult for overseas applicants. Now, this is a really interesting one. Now, we've got the experiential route, and the two can be combined if need be. So you could, I've said to you, you could go ING for the technical report option, which is, I'm not being unprofessional, that is an easier route to do. But if you've got more than 10 years in the industry, you could then do experiential to go from ING to CEng. And I'd say that is a very good option. So that is an application form. Okay, so again, the papers are on. So if you're already at ING level with a UK equivalent degree, not the masters, but you could do this experiential route to CEng. So it's an application form. There's 4 sections. I'm not going to go into detail, where you have to demonstrate that you're working at the level you're trying to achieve. So if you want to go experiential to CEng, you've already got a degree or you've done your technical report option, you then need to demonstrate through 4 good chunky examples why you're working at CEng level. And then that gets reviewed again by an assessor. And no interview on that one. So that's right. But that's not the end. All those 2 levels do are then give you the opportunity to attend the interview. So you have to then do the full professional report and the interview. But it is a good route of doing it. The technical report option to CEng is complex, and you need to have some complex science. If you are working at complex scientific level and you haven't got any underlying qualification acceptable to the UK, then you could go straight technical report route to CEng. But these are 2 very exciting options. The ING option for experiential is that you obviously got you don't have a degree, but you have a degree is at level 6 in the UK, and I can demonstrate that if someone's got a question later what our levels are. So the degree is at level 6. So if you're not at level 6, but you have got enough underlying other courses, including those PWI diplomas I talked about. So this is the key. If you've got those PWI diplomas plus some other sort of side subjects like maths and geology perhaps, but not sort of, I'm sorry to say, geography and things like that. It has to be sort of underlying mathematical science qualifications linked with the PWI diplomas. You would be able to have the opportunity to go through experiential route to ING, which is again another application. So that's quite exciting for somebody without degrees. But again, I just stress that all options means you have to do a report and an interview, and for all options you need a sponsor and a supporter. And I'll come to that. So for one of these routes with the PWI, you must be a member of the PWI. If you're not sure about your qualifications, we do a service where the academic panel will look at your proposals. There are some and check whether they're approved by NARIC. I'll come to what that is. That's a sort of international body to ensure a sort of level playing field on qualifications around the world. But you need this supporter and sponsor. So supporter needs to be someone who knows you well, say what a jolly good person you are, performing at the appropriate level and taking the appropriate responsibility, and a sponsor. You need this for all levels, EngTech through to CEng. But the sponsor has to be, and the supporter does not have to be a member of the PWI. Okay, but it's really important if someone who works with you and knows you well, because you need to say how you perform at your work. But the sponsor must be a UK Engineering Council registered member at the level or above that you're applying for. Okay, so I'm a chartered engineer. I could sponsor anybody but I need to know that person. And so if you haven't got a sponsor, you need to find someone. We can try and encourage members to work with you. That would be something we can do if you're struggling for sponsors. But that needs to be someone registered, and don't have to be registered with the PWI. So it could be a member of ICE, IMECE, IRSE, which is the Institution of Railway Signal Engineers. Anybody registered with the UK Engineering Council can be your sponsor, because they understand the UK Engineering Council process. So then it's a matter of having found your sponsors, supporters, and had your qualifications endorsed. You can complete the forms and you have to do a personal development plan. I'm not going to dwell on that. I can give you a separate session about that, but you must have that. You should, if you're going to take a journey, you should be doing that now. And then you have to record your CPD. And again, if you're taking professional journey, you should have that now. And we can touch on that. So there are, the NARIC is an international review of your qualifications. And again, that is free to PWI members. Okay, so everything's accessible through the website. And take your journey with us is what I'd say. We can take inquiries. So I'm open to questions. Hopefully that sort of gave you a taster. Hello?
Yes. So Paul, just to dip in there, I can see that some people have put questions in the chat.
Okay. I have got some supporting slides. So let's see, how do I get to that chat?
Are you okay with that, or do you want me to read them out? Or
actually, you could read them out.
I can read them out.
Okay, there you go. Shrinakesh comes out.
Or
yeah. Before that, I would like to just give some statistics to Paul Shankardev. Just I won't take more than a minute. Paul, in India, I'm just specific to permanent engineers. We are in 3 categories. One is there are permanent engineers who work for the Indian Railways. They are 100% government employees, and their job will be to maintain a certain stretch of the track as per the Indian Railway Permanent Way Manual and other related manuals. So they are one category, and the other categories are who work for metros and for private companies who do construction and design of the track. And the others is what we are into now. We are only into design, where we design the track for our projects and for overseas projects also. So they are broadly classified into these 3. So definitely somebody, if he's working in a metro, then he would be interested to know what will help him in getting a professional qualification. So that's what I wanted to say. After that, we are open to questions.
Okay, so I do apologise, I was briefly interrupted there. So you're looking for guidance on someone working in design, and metros, as how they can get professional qualifications. Yeah, well, anyone in working in the rail infrastructure with experience and can follow paths to get registered with PWI, provided they're members. So, I mean, to take the opportunity with us, you would have to be a member, of course. And personally, I would encourage people to consider going for this Eng Tech level. And the reason for that is that the Eng Tech level gets you thinking what we call A1 to E5. I showed you those bullet points in terms of what you need to do to demonstrate your competence and commitment. Well, the UK spec sets them down as A1 to E5. And some people would say, well, I don't want Eng Tech. I want to go to C-Eng or I-Eng or C-Eng. But the really good thing about it is it's an application form, and you need to just, and it gets you thinking A1 to E5, and you only need to do simple sort of one-off examples to tick the box for Eng Tech on that application form. But as you're doing that, even if you're an advanced engineer looking for I-Eng, C-Eng, you've applied A1 to E5. This is my personal view and experience. You've applied A1 to E5 and you started thinking A1 to E5, and you're then thinking, what do I need more for A1 to E5 for my personal development plan? And if you're working with others and supporting others, you're also thinking, assuming that you are really on that path for I-Eng and C-Eng, you're thinking, what do my colleagues need? A1 to E5. What do my new graduates, trainees need? A1 to E5. And what experience can I give them? What do I need to ask my governor, my boss? And that's the thing about now. The downside of what I'm saying is, yes, you have to pay every time you apply. Every layer you apply, you go for Eng-Tech, then I-Eng, then C-Eng. Every time there is a fee, and I acknowledge that. And so, you can go straight for I-Eng or straight for C-Eng, provided you've got the qualifications. But all I'm saying is, I mean, if you're in a bit of a competition too for getting paid and that next good job, if you demonstrate to your managers, I'm on that journey, I've applied for Eng-Tech, I've got a PD, personal development plan, I'm going for I-Eng or C-Eng, I say to you as a former manager and engineer that demonstrates to me that person has got commitment, and I want that person in my team. So I can only say that. Anyway, did that answer that question?
Very much.
Okay, and I say we're here to help. Are there any other questions? Well, I think there are a couple I heard.
I would probably add to that, Paul, so basically Srinaga's question was, what is the benefit for engineers in India to avail a C-Eng? So the direct benefit, apart from already the benefits that Paul has already mentioned, is that there are countries in the world where you can work without a C-Eng, but you cannot sign legally without a chartered engineer, without a C-Eng qualification. Now, where the difference, how the UK chartered engineering qualification differs is so Australia has got one, New Zealand has got its own, but where it differs is once you are chartered in the Engineering Council in the UK, it's transferable. It's a transferable qualification both in Australia as well as New Zealand, and you don't have to go through the chartership process again. Whereas if you get a chartership in Australia, it's not possible to get an equivalent chartership qualification in the UK. So that is a big thing. Once you do a charter, once you do your chartership from the UK Engineering Council and register in the UK Engineering Council, you are open to the world. You are now an internationally qualified engineer. Yeah, that's how I see it.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, very much so. The other thing about it is the UK professional registration is recognised internationally, and you would be at the same level as someone from the Institution of Civil Engineers and the Institution of Mechanical Engineers, the oldest ones in the UK. So you'll be considered internationally and by the Engineering Council at that same level. So and that's a key thing. And thanks for that. Thank you. And I don't know how transferable that would be within India. If you're looking for jobs internationally, I think it can only help you to be registered at I-Eng or C-Eng. If you're looking for jobs with consultants, I would have thought they'd snap you up because they can sell you wherever they want around the world. But what I ask, and I don't know, I'm not familiar with, is does Indian Railways, government run, respect professional registration, so it gives you that opportunity should you choose to move into the government railways? That I don't know, so I can't say whether
no,
it must help.
No? So there is no legal requirement. There is no legality of chartership in India to sign drawings or designs as such. So that is what the and that's why there is no. There is no mandatory requirement. It's good to have, but not a mandatory requirement. It's obviously respected and regarded, but it's not a mandatory legal requirement, which it is. For example, in Australia now, it is a mandatory legal requirement to be chartered.
It's not in the UK actually either. We're very similar, but the more incidents that we continually have in the rail industry, we have the sort of Office of the Rail Regulator in the UK and other safety bodies, and they constantly say and recommend that professional recognition of engineers of their competence and commitment is to be encouraged. Now, so there's no legal thing, but in the UK, but management of our main lines and national railways in the UK do recognise such advice from our regulator. So I can only hope that the equally Indian Railways would recognise that this independent assessment of competence is worth having, I think.
I think there is some activity going on in this. Currently, there are some accreditation, internal accreditation of the national accreditation program is going on. So we should see something in the future, near future. I have some questions with me from various section members. Shri Nagesh, do you want to ask them, or should I go ahead?
Please go ahead and read so that.
So I have the first question. So we have got some questions in the chat as well. We will come to that after I finish up the questions that we have already got from some of the members from the section.
If somebody wants to ask directly, they can ask, not a problem, right? If somebody has raised a hand to ask a question instead of type.
Yes, that's also fine. Yes.
Yeah.
So the first question is, we have someone asking, I think I have the experience, but I do not possess all evidences since I have moved workplaces. Is it possible to contextualize copies of emails that I have as evidences?
Yeah, the answer is that you have to make an application. If you're going for iEng and CEng, then you have to produce a report. And so in your report, you obviously you write your career examples and you provide as much evidence as you can, but you can sort of copy and paste, demonstrate emails and that sort of thing. And quite often projects you work on would have a project summary sheet that they dish out to stakeholders or neighbours and that sort of thing. They're useful appendices to show people this is the project that you worked on. Okay, but what I will emphasise is that you do need to demonstrate that it's what you did. We don't want to see any reports or applications saying, I worked on this project, we did this, the company did this, the company policies are that. Yes, of course, we need to know that, but we want to know, I was on this project, I did this, I highlighted that, I suggested that, I made that proposal. You know, in some cases you may say you worked in a small team. So you might say but I had a key role. I had a key role in the team, delivering this, designing that, making a decision about this. I engaged with the supply chain. So you need to do all that in your report and in your experiences. And so if it's a bit frustrating if you can't find any evidence. But don't forget, you've got your supporter and sponsor who have to sign off your report. So you need to get in their space. And if they're not happy to support you on that, then you've got to find another example. That's what you're. So you're taking the journey. Make sure you find your supporter and sponsor pretty soon, because they need to work with you and highlighting and helping you with your examples. Okay, did that help?
Yes, Paul, but is there a mandate? Because what generally the criteria says in black and white is that the evidences should be drawings or reports, but it's just that we have a similar question in the chat which says that, you know, I want to know what kind of evidence we need to provide, since previously we don't know about to keep the evidence. Basically, so people have moved places, people do move places, and they leave their reports and their documents that they produced or the drawings behind. So they might not have access to all those drawings or reports or documents with them. So is it mandatory? And this is probably this probably holds back many people, that holds back that, oh, I don't have the copy of that report, so I can't probably write.
Of course, it's not mandated, but if you don't have any substantial evidence, then it makes it a bit more challenging. Let's put it like that for the reviewer. You need to, one, show them what the project is, and you need to ideally give them a detail. And I mean, even if you provide your own new sketch. Now, Joan wants to make a contribution there, I think, Joan.
Yeah, all I wanted to say was, I mean, I've seen that situation here in the UK as well, Sankadev, many times. And people would generally go back to the previous employer and say, I worked on project X, whatever it was, I need to get some documentation from that to help support my application. And generally they are able to get what it is they need, because they're obviously probably just looking for something, you know, maybe some appendices, some drawing, some very specific things to support their evidence that they particularly worked on. So would that not be possible for people in India?
Would be possible, but it would be difficult. It will be very long.
It is a challenge. It is a challenge, but you know, people do that all the time. They have to. But if you haven't kept good enough records yourself, then that's what you have to do.
But that's the thing. For INCNs, you really want to have that experience in the last 5 years, to be honest. So you really want to be drawing from that leadership management experience from the last 5 years, which is a lot easier to sort of go back and find. 10 years, okay, anything beyond 10 years, and the reviewers are going to think, well, nice to know that person's done it, but that was a while ago. So this is one of the things, so that you ideally, and some people have moved into very much management roles, okay, and you're sort of saying, well, hang on, I need to demonstrate the science and things that I've done. So that's when it becomes a bit of a challenge. So you may have to go to a project way back, but even if you're managing something in the last 5 to 10 years, you can still refer to the science and engineering of it, even if you've not personally delivered it, but you've managed it, refer to it, provide an appendix of what that engineering problem was. So maybe it was replacement of some long timber bridges with a new composite material. You might talk about the performance of the composite material that was tested in a lab. You didn't do it. In fact, probably, you know, you didn't even manage it, but you were the team leader. You're showing leadership at CNG level. Someone, you hopefully you've been involved in that role of making decisions of using composite materials. So therefore, that's innovative. It's really exciting. So you demonstrate you were involved in that, but you can get from the supplier some test results, just extracts. We don't see whole reports. So this is the material I'm talking about. Look, there we are. There's the supplier's material label. There's someone's signed that test off. There's a minutes of a meeting where I'm in that meeting. That's all you need to show, ideally where I chaired that meeting. So just those appendices, you'll put that in the application form, but you can then tell a positive story about how you made decisions and showed leadership.
Right.
Does that help?
Yeah, that really helps.
Joan again.
Could I just add one thing on there as well, Sankadev? What there is on our website are exemplar reports. So I do really think it's very helpful for people to actually go and look at those and see what other people have provided, because it's one thing like to talk about it here. It's quite another to actually see a finished report and what it looked like and what a good report looks like. I think that's really helpful for people.
What I can do, Sankadev, we can do discrete sessions. A very much introductory session today, and I could do discrete sessions based on information we've got. Whole sessions about doing CPD, PDPs, about doing professional reports, about doing Eng Tech, and nothing's 5-minute exercise, of course. Anyway,
right,
and experiential as well, which I think is probably different.
We have
Yep.
Next question.
Well, we have a question from Mr. Kamlesh Maurya. He says, I have already registered with Engineering Council through ICE and IIT UK route. I wanted to know what is the additional benefit, what would have a better edge, or what would PWI membership basically would have a better edge over other institutions? That's quite a...
So is your colleague professionally registered with them?
Yes, is already registered with the Engineering Council through ICE and IIT.
Do you know at what level?
I think Mr. Kamlesh, would you want to come online?
I can.
Yes, yeah, Eng Tech actually.
You're at EngTech, right?
Yeah.
Well, that's fine. Well, you can progress. You can get what we call dual membership. So you can get EngTech. If you're an EngTech at IET or ICE, you can immediately become EngTech PWI without any major assessment. You just have to do a questionnaire, and a key thing so you become registered at EngTech. Yes, of course, there's another fee associated with that, but then and you wouldn't need to go through any application process to be EngTech. You just get endorsed. We acknowledge and respect other UK engineering registrations, and so you could immediately become dual membership PWI. Then you can take a route with the PWI to iEng and CEng. We don't ask you to do any more than we recognise all the work that's been done for ICE or IET, and I say the main benefit, as I said for you, is one, I think we're more supportive in the area that you work. And two, you'll get reviewed by peers in your industry, there's no reason why you can't go to iEng in 2 or all 3. I personally am registered as a civil engineer, and I'm also registered as the PWI railway infrastructure. I worked in railways all my life, and when I had the opportunity to get registered with the PWI as a railway engineer, I thought, I am a railway engineer. I am going to get there, and I have to pay for my ICE fees, but I am a railway engineer, and there might be a bit of passion there.
Yeah, okay, thank you so much. Yeah, thanks.
We have the next question. Can we go to the next question? So we have a question, Paul. Says, I have just started working in the industry, but I see that one of the requirements is leading teams. I understand this will come at a later stage in my career. What should I do until then? Should I become a member and pursue chartership only when I am sure that I have all the competencies? Or should I not become a member now and wait all my competencies to first, in maybe 5-6 years?
Well, obviously, I would say, I think there are immense benefits in becoming a member immediately. And one of the things is that you can go and you can get mentored. We can support you, trying to help support, find a mentor for you through your peers. But the other thing is you can attend our seminars like this and get some coaching. And you're working in your peer group in the rail industry and learning the techniques and approaches, and you can identify what your targets are towards achieving what are called A1 and E5 on your journey. Why wouldn't you go, if you haven't got the experience, why wouldn't you go EngTech, iEng, CEng? I know one answer is, well, it's all right for you, you can afford it, you might be thinking, and I agree, there is a fee every time. But the main benefit for me is you're in the community, you're working with your peers and colleagues, and you're demonstrating to your managers and leaders that you are committed and on a journey.
John, you want to add something?
Yes, the other thing I would add there is, being a member of the PWI is not just about professional registration. So if you look at those figures that Paul put up earlier on, we've got about 4,000 individual members, and they're all together. There's probably about 400 and something that are professionally registered with us. So that leaves an awful lot of people who are not. So the point of becoming a member of the PWI is about being in a community of other people who work in the rail industry. And it's all about the things that we can provide to you. So as Paul's mentioned already, we do the technical seminars. And I know that will be difficult for you because you're not in the UK, but some of those are available online on the day. They're always recorded and they're always put on the Knowledge Hub. So all the presentations that people ever give us anywhere in the world, they're always recorded and they're always on the Knowledge Hub, and they're available to anyone who's a member. There's other things going on, like our lunch and learn activities that we do every other Tuesday. They're available to all members wherever they are in the world. You get a copy of our journal, which I'm just looking around. I don't have one to hand, but as a member, you would get a copy of that journal every quarter, which has got some very good technical articles in it, as well as like sort of other PWI news. So, we fully appreciate that you probably wouldn't get the total full benefit that people maybe in the UK are getting, because it's not easy for you to see those people physically. But we do so much stuff now online that really the professional registration, yes, it's important, but being a member, especially for somebody at the start of your career, it's about connections to other people that can help you and information that we can provide to help you learn as you go through your job career. Okay, there's Paul. He's holding up the journal. Thank you. Or someone is for me. Sorry. Sheesh Rinagesh. Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks, John. Yes, Tridib, you have a question?
Yeah, I want to ask, am I audible?
Yes.
Yeah, I want to ask that sometimes we just book the meeting for the CPD, but we are not able to attend. So is it possible like we see the recorded session in the YouTube or something, and
Of course,
we like, yeah, is it
there
countable in
is
CPD?
already there is already all the recorded sessions come on the YouTube channel of Permanent Pay Institution. But
Yeah.
whether it is still counted in the CPD if you watch it recording, probably, Paul?
Yes. I mean, anything you do on CPD, and I say it's a total separate session about development plans, personal development plans and CPD, but anything you do can be recorded and should be recorded. And if you can't make the actual live booking, then you can watch it later and enter the details later on whatever tool you use to record your CPD. And you don't have to use the PWI tool, by the way. It's just a convenient tool. I use it. I find it very useful. We are hoping to get it more user-friendly so it can be used as an app. But no, a spreadsheet is fine for recording your CPD. But you must provide a bit of detail on what it is, what you learn, and reflection. Really, really important. Even if that. So today, if you haven't started a CPD record, go away and put down this session. Introduction to the PWI by Paul Ebbutt, supported by Joan Heary, a bit of history and a bit about professional registration. I'm not interested. You might reflect at the end and say, I'm not interested in this, a waste of time. Now, that's reflective. You might go away and say, that looks interesting. I will investigate further professional routes via the PWI website. Good. You've looked at it, summary of what we did, and you've given some reflection. Whether it's a waste of time or whether you're going to go and look at the website and explore more. Okay, I hope that was.
Yes.
And you can put that on
thanks.
And you must record the hours. One of the benefits of this Excel sheet is you can have a column at the end that adds up the hours. Even I found that out, but there we are.
No, thanks a lot, Paul. Tridib, that was a very good question. Thanks for asking that question. Many have had that question in their mind, but yeah, thanks for raising this. I have one more question from, I'll go again from the chat. So we have a question. How much helpful this chartership will be for employees working in advisory or planning departments?
Planning departments. Well, I think that's up to for the actual company. I think if it's a consultant, my experience is, and Joan might have an opinion on this as well, my experience is that they can promote their strong team with the greater number of incorporated or chartered engineers in their portfolio. For the individual, you can demonstrate that you've got a leadership role in their company, and it gives you the opportunity to move on to other companies. But I suspect that you can't say they have to be chartered to do planning and that, but I think it's very short-sighted of a company that says that they're not prepared to sort of promote the benefits of having incorporated or chartered engineers on their leading team. That's a personal view. Joan, I don't know if you wanted to add to that with your background.
No, I would concur with everything that you're saying, Paul. And I think the other thing to think as well about professional registration, it is very important for an employer. It definitely gives them an advantage. But really, think about yourself first. Think about this is my career. I've decided to be an engineer. I work in the rail industry. How can I demonstrate to myself all the way through your career? So that might be over 40 or 45 or 50 years that I'm still good enough to be a practicing engineer. And one of the ways that you can do that is by getting yourself professionally registered. But even more important to me than that really is keeping a continuous record of continuous professional development, so that you are doing things that are either relevant to your job or your wider industry or profession, that you're keeping yourself up to date. And I think that's a very important point to think about.
Thank you. Thank you.
Brilliant.
We have a question from Vibha Rao, who's a member. Could you please explain a bit about what is the equivalent for masters in the UK that people in India might need to acquire? So I'll just start with this, that right now, if you are doing a master's in engineering in India post 2012, I think, or 13, when India became a signatory of the Washington Accord. So degrees that you would have done after post 2012, they might, please check with your institution, they might already be registered with the it's called the NBA, the Board of Accreditation, the National Board of Accreditation of India, which is a sister concern of the Washington Accord. So
Okay.
if so probably all AICTE masters, but you need to check this for your institution online. There is a NBA website for this to check this. If you just Google Washington Accord qualification check, you can get the website. And if you go there, if you put your course, the name of the course, the name of the university, and the year in which you have passed out or you think you will pass out, it would give you if that particular curriculum of the course is under the Washington Accord or not. Generally speaking, if it is a Washington Accord approved course, it is equivalent to the UK master's degree, which, am I right, Paul?
Yes. But don't give up with that. Actually, we have. I'm not saying we want all of you to do this, because we have this facility called the academic panel on the PWI, and we will look at individual applications. Yes, it's another application where you have to ask us if your qualification base is acceptable for going to IEng or CEng, and sometimes it might be marginal, you're not sure. Discuss it with your supporter and sponsor, and yes, do the research like Sankadev was suggesting, and even if it's a bit marginal, but you've got a good 10 years experience and lots of evidence of working at innovation, so the use of new materials, you've got to demonstrate your science and your knowledge and understanding. So if you have been perhaps more associated with geography issues before, but not enough technical science, then you, in your degree, then you're going to be a bit sort of, what's the word? It's going to be a bit sort of marginal. But you can make an application to the academic panel, and we may say, well, you've got plenty of this experience, but if, for example, you decided to do the PWI track engineering diploma, which is at level 4-5, we would consider that sufficient with your other qualifications to enable you to go for incorporated engineer. Oh, really? Thank you. Tick. Then you might say, that got me to incorporated engineer. I'm 10 years in the industry and I've taken a significant role. Oh, then perhaps I can go experiential route, which is no more qualifications. You demonstrate through experiential route, and that's a questionnaire. Discuss it with your sponsor and supporter, and again, I can give personal advice if anyone wants. And you can plan your route there. It's a longer route than those that come straight out of college and uni with the masters, but you can demonstrate, get to IEng, experiential to CEng, and you can't get those routes through other institutions because the PWI experiential routes will not be recognised by others to give you. You can't sort of do it through the PWI and then say, oh, I think I'll go to ICE and ask them to give me the CEng. Now, once you take that journey with PWI and our top-ups, our courses, you need to commit to the PWI professional course. Does that make sense?
Yes. Thank you,
Yes,
Paul.
thank you.
I think in the same light, the whatever master's degree you have, I think it's better to submit it to the academic panel and let the panel decide and come back to you whether it is. That's probably the best thing you can do, and then decide once the academic assessment has been done, and then you decide that based on the feedback from the panel which route you want to go ahead. So I would say don't think about it much. Whatever you have, whatever qualifications you have already done, just submit it to the panel. Let the panel decide. And that would be easier way. But because probably before 2014, if someone has passed out a master's degree from India, except certain institutions like the IITs, the others were not accredited by the Washington Accord.
Okay, I'll just add there though, anything prior to Washington Accord accreditation really helps, but anything that's not before that, you do need the transcript of the degree contents of the courses, because sometimes we get some people come through with a degree, sometimes from the Middle East, sometimes from Asia, and we find that when you look underneath it, there's not enough science and engineering in the transcript. So it can be a lot of management of construction, management of materials and this sort of thing. So they're looking for you that demonstrate you've done science and maths really. So just check that. And then if your qualifications so if you haven't got the underlying transcript of what the course subjects are and marks, then it makes it a bit more difficult for the academic panel, and they may just say, sorry, we haven't got enough. And don't be surprised if they then say to you, sorry, the only way you can demonstrate your knowledge, scientific and maths, is to do the technical report options. You remember I talked about that? But don't be disappointed. There is still that route available.
Right. Thanks, Paul. There is always a route available for advancing your career, so there's nothing to be worried about. Just come ahead and probably be proactive. I've also put the PWI. I've put some links in the chat which would be helpful for everyone, members and non-members, to go through them. Looking at the time,
Joan's got a point there, Sankadev.
Yes,
just
Joan,
one point.
Yes, it is actually, Sankadev, just probably about the time as well. So we can see that on this call we had over 300 people on here at the height of the call, which is just fantastic. And there will be some people on this call who think, yes, I do want to pursue this more and understand more in greater detail about what is actually involved. And Paul and I both know from our experience that will not be a number like 300. It will be a much smaller number. So if people want to come to you, Sankadev, afterwards and say, I really am interested in this, I do want to have more help on, understanding each of the like A, B, C, D, E and the CPD record, etc. We could run separate sessions for them, but they do need to be really committed and saying, yes, I'm really going to go for this. So there's probably some homework for people to do to really understand themselves. Is this the right route for me? And if there is a group of people who then come back to you and say, yes, we're really interested in this, we in the PWI can run more individual sessions, not individual sessions more focused on particular areas of the application. And that might be a good way to leave this, because having 300 people on the call, over 300, is phenomenal.
Phenomenal, yes, true. So what we can do is probably, can we drop the, Srinagesh, can we drop the PWI email ID in the chat so they can reach to us?
Yes, absolutely, we can do that.
I think that will be a better idea. So anybody has got questions can come back. I'll just ask we have just 2 more questions. So probably, yeah. So one is, this is a problem that we generally, not a problem, I would say it's a challenge. Probably what we find in India is we need a sponsor for the application. So how do we get the sponsor when we don't know who is the sponsor? Or there may be many chartered engineers in via IIT and ICE, even in India, but they don't know us, and we don't know them. So how do I mean, this is one of the questions we got from the members, that why, if I don't know the sponsor, how would the sponsor sponsor me?
That is not a 5-minute question, actually, unfortunately, Sankadev. We do encounter that problem from time to time. And I think through our professional development office, led by Elizabeth Turner, we can endeavour, and can't promise, endeavour to see where members in the industry might be prepared to support people, and we can do it now virtually, which makes it so easy, and we can sort of scan employers and colleagues to give some support in terms of sponsorship. Supporter has to be someone that you work with, like a line manager or a peer, so we can't go anywhere near that. But as the PWI, we might be able to, I'm not promising or committing, because 300 people who can ask for sponsors, we might struggle. It says, I grab my wife, stop it in earshot.
Yeah, but I mean, I think the other thing, Paul, is that like a lot of people probably, Sankadev, on this call, and I might be making the wrong assumption, but a lot of you are working for organisations that are working in the UK as well. So within your company organisations, there will be chartered engineers there that can help you. Don't be frightened to go back and ask the employer either.
We can prod the employer as well, can't we?
Yes, but if for those multinational companies who have their operations in the UK, probably they can find. But members who are working in Indian companies who do not have a UK wing, they face this issue more often than not, and where we keep hearing this time and again. So probably we can think about this and think about a solution.
Yeah, I say don't give up. So don't give up. I know our centre won't like this, but I think do ask Elizabeth Turner, Centre of our professional registration, if you're really struggling, and no doubt I'll be talking to whoever with one or two of my colleagues. But I think we don't want. We're not going to say, "Oh, we'll go away until you found someone." We are here to support you.
Right, but probably I would take the example of the Chartered Management Institute in the UK, the CMI. So what they do is they have a system wherein a pool of sponsors, and you can search the sponsor, request the sponsor online, and the sponsor can opt to choose or not to choose the candidate. But probably we can think about these things for in going ahead in future.
Yeah, that is something that I know ICE do that actually, and it's something that I've mentioned. It's not the highest priority at the moment for us, in terms, because there's investment in that involved. But I agree with you, Sankadev. I think that is a good ideal to aim for. Thank you.
Thanks. I think we'll take the last question now. We have, is this chartership will be helpful for those who has done their masters from environmental engineering and water resources?
Yeah, possibly. And that's a good example, whereas you've got a master's in there, there's a bit of science and engineering in there if your transcript shows that, and your other experience. But it may be that there's not enough sort of underlying railway in there. So of course I would say this, but it may be that if you just top up your experience with, for example, the track engineering diploma, that the academic panel will say, yes, that'll be great. And you wouldn't need to do another master's.
Sure.
That's the sort of thing where you need to offer your package, see what you need.
In the same context, Paul, do we get the track engineering diploma? Is it possible to be done online from India?
Yes, it is. It is. We have
yes, and we've done quite a lot with people in Hong Kong. So what you would need, probably, Sankadev, is a good size, the cohort, the number. to make it worth the while, because obviously all the
Online,
lectures you would be working on a different time zone, etc. So they couldn't do it for just one or two people, but if there was a cohort there of a sensible size, I'm sure that Brian would consider it. Yeah.
Yeah, I think about 15 is manageable online, and we would be happy to get up early in the morning to support you on that. A compromise is needed, so we don't get up too early.
That's really amazing, amazing news. Even many people do not know this, I'm sure. So it's a great thing. We can probably take it up from our section in future, looking at what the interest of the members are in future.
Yeah.
If there is a sizable number, we can take this initiative from the section to get this online diploma done from India for the PWI, which would help many of us here who to attain their required, aspired chartership levels. So I think we've had a wonderful session today.
Yes.
If there are any, we will drop the email ID of PWI in the chat, of the Bangalore section in the chat. And if you have any questions, you can come back to us. Thankfully, we have probably answered all of the questions. So I thank, first of all, to Paul Ebbutt, Joan Heary, Sri Nagesh Rao, and Sarah, of course, from the membership team, and of course our section members who have done some amazing work to get this done. And we have had, at some point, we had 300 plus participants. So that shows the kind of interest, and that was a wonderful session. I think I'll hand over to you now, Sri Nagesh.
Yeah, sure. First of all, I'd like to apologize for the delay in this. The conversation was so engrossing, Paul, that it really took 25 minutes extra, and now also we're counting on it. So first of all, apologies for the delay. And next, the first thing I would like to thank is the overwhelming 300. You guys, you don't know what your strength is. When you say 300 PWI engineers getting into one platform, getting into one form, you have no idea what it is. It's an explosion, I can say, in terms of the professional on one platform. So thank you very much. And as everybody says, it is my growth. It's my personal growth. So I should not, if I want to be qualified, if I want to grow in my profession, if I want to get a qualification, it will be my qualification. So don't worry about anything else. Just see that you become members, and then you start your journey into the professional engineering. And really, I have seen many people, when they bid for projects, they ask you how many chartered engineers are there in your team. So the number of more chartered engineers, your chances of winning the bid is high, because it shows that you are more qualified. And I would like to thank my own team members who have been instrumental in getting this. Even though we started the first PWI in India in 2019, I'm very glad to see that the first section is happening. It's always better late than never. And thank you guys here in India. And thank you, the UK team, who is always our backbone. And Paul, I see you as a powerhouse in yourself, So definitely, we all will definitely need your support and your help going further.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.